Congestion pricing. In this video, we will explore traffic congestion, why it is a problem, a possible solution, the area I'm focusing on, and its limitations and benefits. First, let's look at an example. This guy is Tom. He is a 22-year-old new graduate from a state college, and today is a very important day for him because it's his first day at his new job. And since it's his first day, being on time is crucial, so he quickly grabs the new car his mom bought for him, which is a Honda Odyssey minivan, and leaves in a hurry. However, just a few minutes after leaving, he encounters an unexpected problem. He gets stuck in traffic for over an hour and ends up being late. This is a prime example of traffic congestion, a major problem in urban areas all around the world, including Ulaanbaatar, Mongolia. Alright. First, let's define traffic congestion. Traffic congestion is a condition on road networks that occurs when the volume of traffic exceeds the capacity of the road infrastructure, resulting in slower speeds, longer trip times, and increased vehicular queuing. Situations like this can lead to different problems such as increasing stress, carbon emissions, social disputes, and decrease in economic output as the time spent on the road eats at the time that can spent working, as seen in the example with Tom. The consequences can be felt even at a global scale, as research indicates that cities experiencing traffic congestion emit up to 300% more carbon after a 50% increase in demand. Following the increase in global population, so does the amount of vehicles on the road, leading to increased traffic congestion, especially in highly populated megacities. For example, a research in Beijing have indicated that during the morning peak hours, the average speed on the main road drops from 53 kilometers an hour to 34 kilometers an hour. That's a decline of around 20 kilometers an hour. Another research in Beijing conducted using GPS and observation methods have concluded that traffic congestion increases around workplaces, commuting areas, and additional during weekends and holidays. The research may have been conducted in Beijing, but the findings would generally be the same in every developed country. The perspective I was assigned in the group is to discourage people from taking certain roads at certain times. It is often better to discourage than force people to do certain actions, because when they are forced, it often feels like their freedom is being suppressed. The proposed solution tackles the problem by offering them an option whether to pay to use the road or to use alternative methods of transportation. In the Journal of Advanced Transportation, a review article that was peer-reviewed and published by a well-renowned publisher, it is stated that congestion pricing generated around 122 million in 2005 and 2006 in London. Around 100 million pounds have been invested in increasing bus welfare, resulting in fewer cars and increased public acceptance. This essentially proves its effectiveness. Moreover, an article on science directly published by a publisher that is globally leading focuses more into the technology that can be used to implement congestion pricing, or CP for short. Possible ones are using cellular and DSRC employing RSUs. This article suggests that it is possible to implement CP without building a great amount of new infrastructure. Out of the possible solutions our group came up with, I was assigned to congestion pricing or CP. What is congestion pricing, you may ask? Well, it is a strategy that discourages the use of privately owned vehicles by taking fees for them to use them during peak hours, while encouraging the use of alternative transportation like buses, trains, and bikes. How do we implement congestion pricing? Won't the government need to allocate a massive amount of money to build the necessary infrastructure for CP? You might be thinking, well, as I have previously stated earlier in the video, the infrastructure already exists. For example, in Mongolia, all the traffic cameras connected to the system that auto-pays parking fees can be used to implement CP. The revenue coming from the fees can be later invested in bettering public transport. Investing the money into improving public transportation for more comfortability and consistency is a healthy approach. In doing so, it tackles one of the main reasons that is shifting individuals more towards private vehicles in Mongolia. I personally have experienced how brutal the Mongolian public transportation can be. Just the other day, I personally had some agenda to attend at the National Square. Naturally, I leave around 15 minutes early since it is far from where I live. Since I don't have a license and it's blistering cold outside, the only viable option I had left was the bus, which was a terrible mistake, as 40 minutes into waiting, I found out the next bus arriving was in an hour. Which is a similar situation to the first example with Tom. If executed right, it can be really effective, as in the country of Mongolia, as don't produce much gas ourselves. We have to import it from other countries, making gas prices really high, which itself makes car ownership really financially unstable. However, people still use their car because the public transport system is currently really inconvenient for everyday use. The system has been implemented in first world countries such as the United Kingdom, United States, and Singapore. However, it may prove to be difficult to take a similar approach in Mongolia, as that country has little capital. The Parliament of Mongolia may be reluctant to allocate funds, and not to mention the biggest problem that every country that has taken this approach has faced: public acceptance. Public acceptance may even be lower in Mongolia, as people may be reluctant to spend more money to use the vehicles that they paid for. But I believe acceptance can increase as soon as alternative methods become more viable for everyday use. In conclusion, by discouraging people from using private vehicles during peak hours instead of forcing people, it lessens the social burden on the government directed from the stress from daily driving and the income gained from it invested into alternatives, making it a better option for citizens to use public transport instead of private vehicles.